Good evening, everybody. This is Man on a Mission. As always, we're going to start with the content disclaimer. If at any point you find yourself getting offended, pissed off, upset, or anything that I may have missed, suck it up and move on. Remember, we live in America and it's time to start acting like it. Please note that some of the content that will be discussed on this podcast may be considered offensive, rude, or inaccurate. There will be no topic discussed or avoided. This is an open forum and all views are welcome. Any and all callers will be kept anonymous unless consent is given by the individual. The opinions expressed by the man on the mission and those providing comments are his and theirs alone and do not reflect the opinions of YouTube or any of their affiliates or employees thereof. YouTube is not responsible for the accuracy of any of the information supplied by Man on a Mission. Sincerely, Man on a Mission. So if you watched last a couple days ago, you had heard kind of like what I want to do is kind of like a topic summary of what the show's going to be and what it's going to be about. So today I want to start with gun control, Second Amendment. I want to really give you my opinion as a non-gun owner, and what I feel about the Obama administration and some of the regulations that they want to put. Maybe even touch base on whether or not the fear of the government taking away our weapons. I'm going to start by reading the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Also stated in the Declaration of Independence, I'm going to quote, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and health and happiness. So what that means to me is simple. If we as a nation feel that our government is out of control, we have the right to bear arms against them. And hopefully, our military personnel will have our backs. After all, they defend our safety. They defend our country. And like them, we should want the best for our country. So for somebody to say that they're going to take that right away from us, I think that's absurd. And I think that's way, way, way too much. Even, like I said, I'm a non-gun owner. I don't own a gun. New Jersey has some of the strictest laws for gun ownerships. I was reading that only the local police chief can issue you a license to carry a gun, and only then you have to be able to explain within good cause why you feel you need one. So basically, that's at the police commissioner chief's discretion on whether or not he feels like you need one. I don't think that's very fair. I also want to share with you a federal law signed by George Washington in 1792. Requires that every man eligible for militia service, which meant almost everybody, able-bodied men between 16 and 90 years old, own a gun and ammunition suitable for military service. So George Washington, in my opinion, basically told us in 1792 when he passed the federal law that every American citizen should own a gun and ammunition suitable for military service. So in just case, those 3 points, if our government gets out of control, they try to push us, they shove us, they take it far enough where they're now, what's the word I'm looking for? Defying their own oath to office, we have the right to take them out of office, to take them, not, it doesn't have to be violently, but we have the right to reestablish the government according to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And I think that right there says it all. All Americans should own a gun. Do I respectfully understand gun regulation? Absolutely. Absolutely think that there are some people that just should not own a gun, either of unstable mind or ability. But so depending on how strict they want to go with the gun law or gun control, I almost want to support gun control, but I don't. I'm going to be a hypocrite because, I think that gun control may be taken too far. And I think that we as citizens own that right. I just want to throw out some statistics that I found. John R. Lott, Jr., PhD, says states with the largest gun ownership sees the largest drops in violent crimes. The NRA states guns are used for self-defense 2.5 million times a year. The police cannot protect everyone all the time, and I agree with that. I have a lot of friends and family in law enforcement. It's really tough to get to everybody all the time, especially if it's the here and now. My home gets robbed, it's going to take the police, 10, 20 minutes, depending on, how busy they are, how many people they have on the force, how far they are from you. If there's somebody invading my home, the safety and the sanctuary of my home that puts my children, my wife, myself in jeopardy, you're best damn right I'm going to take a shot. It may not be to kill, but I'm going to take a shot. And then I'm going to let the police handle it from there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The Institute, and now this is something interesting, and I kind of agree with this, and I think, I'm going to touch base with you on this in a minute. The Institute of Medicine reports 1.4 million guns were stolen between 2005 2010 from home and auto burglaries. Okay, so now that brings up a different topic, right? So, let's say I have young kids in my house, and my gun should be locked up. It should be in a safe. When I'm not home, when I'm not around, it should be locked up in a safe. When I'm the only one, my wife the only one that has the keys, it should not be accessible by any means to a child. Unless I have fully trained the child on safety procedures and hazards, and they know how to 100% handle and know how to use a gun. There's no reason for it outside of that. Now, 64% of Americans say that living in a home with a gun owner makes them feel safer. That's huge. That's a large percentage of Americans say that when I live in a house with somebody who owns a gun, somewhere in that house, I feel a lot safer. I believe that. I'm that way. So, I think, according to the Institute of Medicine reports, I think we can dramatically decrease those odds or that number by safely and considerately, obviously, putting the guns in a safe spot so nobody can take it. And that means, okay, so you got it on the top shelf of your closet. What if you were to own a safety deposit box or a fire safe box that bolts down to the shelf of the closet? Is that burglar going to be able to take your gun then? Hell no. They're going to see it. They're going to try to lift it up. They're going to realize that it can't be taken. They're going to dart. You can't leave a gun in a position that can be taken by somebody in a sock drawer, under your pillow, under your mattress. Those things are okay when you're home. You want them easily accessed when you're at home. But when you're not at home, you want to make sure that they're in a position that they stay in the position that you left them in. My uncle growing up had a 6-foot safe. A 6-foot safe with a turn knob lock. You think a burglar was going to try to get that? Too much time. And that's the one thing burglars don't have, is time. Think about that. Keep it safe, keep it locked up, it won't get stolen. One of the gun control laws that Obama administration wants to pass from the National Conference of State Legislation, and I agree with this, is that he wants to increase the amount of ATF presence. He wants to increase the amount of ATF presence on internet tracking. He wants to spend about $4 million to increase the ATF track so that can track the sale of illegal gun trafficking. 100%, you got my vote on that one because it needs to be done. Of all crimes, I believe, my opinion, 75% of all gun violence is created by people that don't want to follow the law. I have a statistic here from procon.org and the American Journal of Public Health. They state, and this is, I found this on several different organization and state websites, 88.8% of guns per 100, or 88.8 guns per 100 people, or about 270 million guns are owned in America. That's the highest per capita in the world. 22% of Americans own one or more guns. So what does that mean? So between the years of 1999 and 2013, there were a total of 464,033 gun deaths. Total in 14 years total. Out of those, 58%, 58.2% were suicides. 58% of that 464,000 were suicides. 37.7% were homicides. Okay? Homicides. 38.7%. Which is around 174 and change thousand confirmed gun deaths. Now, you know what they forgot to leave out of that 37.7%? Illegal gun owners versus legal gun owners. Why'd they leave that out? It's a great statistic. Why'd they leave it out? Because I firmly believe out of that 37.7%, that a good 75-80% of that was caused by law-abiding citizens, the criminals, the people that shouldn't own guns, that shouldn't be getting guns on the black market, that shouldn't be sold guns by our government, that shouldn't be sold guns illegally. And I think that's why they left that stat out. It's a pretty big stat to leave out, don't you think? Especially when you're trying to persuade people into the gun control movement. Now, I also want to include on this, there was a 2.2% unintentional death. Unintentional. Usually kids, adults, hunting accidents, things, unintentional accidents, they were accidents. Easily. I can fix that right now. I said it earlier. Lock up your guns. When you're not home, keep them away from people that shouldn't have them. Boom. Knowledge bomb dropped. So, there's another legislative that wants to ban the sale of assault rifles because they don't feel like it's necessary for American citizens to own semi-automatic or assault rifles. Here's what I have to say to that. Able-bodied men between 16 and 90 own a gun and ammunition suitable for military service. I think George Washington agrees with us. I think George Washington, when he signed this federal law, said, hey, our American citizens should be able to overthrow the government. We do not want another Britain. Okay? That's basically what it was. Britain fucked us up. Our forefathers, our founding fathers, turned around and said, our country is not going to end up like Britain back then. We're not going to have a king. We're not going to have anything of the such. And we're not going to let our government out of control. So we're going to make it known that we want all American citizens to own an assault rifle or gun or anything that they feel comfortable with defending themselves in case of treason of our own government. I agree with that. Sorry. I think that everyone should own one. Now, did some research, found out that Texas has an open carry law. There was a sheriff, and I don't recall the town or the city that this is from, but open conceal carry. Open conceal. And he's teaching his 13-year-old daughter how to shoot and conceal a gun, carry it with her for self-protection, self-defense. Now, there's two things that this brings up. Okay, how young is too young, and should it be allowed? You know, how young is too young, and should a 12-year-old be able to unconceal carry? So in 1792, 16-year-old was the cutoff. In today's society, it depends on the state, depends on the local government, what age you determine to be able to recognize right and wrong. In the state of New Jersey, the age is 7. That's right. In the age of New Jersey, they have determined that at 7 years old, you can recognize the difference between right and wrong. Does that earn you the right to also conceal carry? I don't think so. I don't. I'm sorry. 7 years old is a little too young. You know, when you start getting into the teens, maybe like a 15, 16-year-old who is fully educated, who is, you know, kind of like your driver's permit. You take them to the gun range. Let them spend 20 hours overall with a professional trainer. Training that individual on how to use a gun, the safeties, the precautions. I think that would be a viable option. I think that'd be cool. I don't feel that a 12-year-old or, you know, a 7-year-old should have an open conceal. No, I don't. I'm sorry. Or concealed carry. I think concealed carry should be allowed by every state. Like I said on my last episode, you know, common sense speaks volumes. If I'm going to ShopRite or any of the local grocery stores, school, or post office or whatever in mass public, and I pull out a gun, I'm not pulling out a gun for show. I'm not, hey, everybody, look what I got. No, I'm pulling out a gun for a reason. Now, concealed carry would turn around and let somebody go and say, no, you're not. Pop! You don't have to kill. You don't have to shoot to kill. You shoot to make a point. You want to whip out a gun at a Phillies game? Not on my watch. You want to whip out a gun at school? Not on my watch. And I guarantee you, the more knowledge that we give our citizens, the more power the safer we will become, because I believe in my heart that there are a lot more good citizens out there than what we think there are. And given the power and the ability to do something, everybody is capable for tremendous things. But when you take the power and the ability away, what do? You're not going to stop the criminals, because the criminals are still going to create the crime. You're not going to stop the mass shootings, because if I can't get a gun legally, I'm going to get it illegally. Come on, man, let's think about this logically. On the other hand, let's think about it. I'm dead serious here, because I really feel passionate about this. I want you to think of yourself as a gun owner, even if you don't own a gun. Even if you don't own a gun, you're against hunting, whatever. I want you to think about yourself. Close your eyes. Picture yourself in a public space. Okay? Surrounded by hundreds of people. You have two scenarios. You have one scenario where you own a gun, and you have one scenario where you don't own a gun because of gun control laws. The scenario where you own a gun, close your eyes, vision these people. They're all around you. Okay? In the midst of the crowd, in line of sight, you see somebody whip out a gun. Semi-automatic, a handgun, whatever. The first thing they do is wave it up. The first reaction out of everybody is to drop to the ground and scream or run. You're a gun owner now. You have concealed carry. What do? Because I know what I would do. I'd be taking shots. How many lives were taken in that scenario? Because 90% of all mass shootings start that same way. Because you can't shoot somebody unless you have the gun out in open sight. So, put yourself in the second scenario. You're in a public place. You're surrounded by hundreds of people. Somebody whips out a gun. Everyone screams and starts running. There's no concealed carry because gun law says no. How many people do you think that guy's going to pluck off before the cops are able to get there? It's sad. And it's a thought that nobody should have to think about. So I want you to think about that real quick. Think about that. Because it's true. The reality of it's there. We need concealed carry. There's just no other way around it. I'm sorry. Our government, our founding fathers, they all knew it. They all knew this day would come. And Obama's saying that you have the right, if you're a victim of a shooting, to sue the gun manufacturer. I'm sorry, that's not the case. You should not be able to sue a gun maker because some idiot got a hold of a gun and wanted to create a crime. I don't think that's fair. Holding higher sanctions to gun sellers, okay, fine. If you're an honest gun seller, then you should have no problems with what you're being asked to do. And if you're a law-abiding citizen, I would absolutely hope and pray, if you're a law-abiding citizen and a gun owner, that you will take up arms if somebody comes to violate your constitutional rights. Because that is an instance where the government has taken their power too far. Sorry, I just wanted to give you a minute to think about that as it's soaking in. Now, if you're asking yourself, well, this is coming out of a guy, well, why don't you have a gun? It's a great answer. That's a great answer. Great question. I have an answer. Because the state of New Jersey has the strictest gun laws and won't allow me to have a gun. Because I cannot justify the need for one. Even if I say safety, self-defense, protection, that's why I don't own a gun. But I have a lot of friends that do. Before governor or messy man, because I can't stand our governor, took over and created this bullshit, I would absolutely own a gun to protect my family. And I feel like you should too. And you know what? Here's something crazy for you. Out of those gun owners, what did I say they were? Out of the 270 million gun owners, there's a rough estimate, or I'll say 22% of gun owners, because that's total guns, we want gun owners. Out of 22% of the gun owners, guess how much percentage of is women? If you said 12%, you're absolutely correct. 12% of women own guns. That's phenomenal. I wish it was higher. I wish more women were confident in their abilities to shoot a gun. Because you're the least suspecting person that somebody would ever think would be carrying is a woman. Let's face the facts. It's perception versus reality. So we need to get more women into the NRA. We need to get more women into the gun ranges. Because at the end of the day, I don't own a gun. But I wish the hell all of my neighbors did, because if I need one, it may be too late for me. There's a saying that if you need a gun and you don't have a gun, it'll be the last time you ever need a gun. Does that make sense? Because you'll be dead. You think somebody's going to not shoot me because I don't have a gun and I'm unarmed? Hell no. They're going to shoot me, they're going to shoot me. My friends, that is my take on gun ownership. On the Obama administration and their gun control. There should only be two things that are needed for gun control. One, a stricter lesson or a stricter training process for gun owners. I'm all for it. If somebody new wants to go buy a gun, I think that they should be forced, or they should be offered training courses. I'm all for that. 100%. And I agree with the $4 million that Obama, yes, and I'm telling you, I agree. I hate the guy. I don't like his presidency. I don't think he's done anything good for this country. Obamacare sucks, but that's a topic for another day. But of the $4 million, part of the $4 million for gun control, I agree, should go to the trafficking of selling guns illegally on the internet. But you know what I fear? That when they do investigate and they do track some of that down, I fear that a large portion of that is going to direct them right back to our government. Because it's a big money maker. Right? Think about that. But the next time you hear somebody about gun control, or the next time you hear somebody about concealed carry, I want you to think about the protection of your children, your family, and your friends. And I want you to think about how that person can honestly sit there and say that nobody needs or deserves to own a gun. Because when the shit comes down, you're going to wish that you had one. like I do. Well, it's that time. It's Thursday, February 25th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Man on a Mission. God bless you. God bless America. God bless guns. Till the next time, peace out.